WISC TV now presents For the Record.
Celebrating Women in Business is next on For the Record. Thanks for joining us. I'm Neil Heinen. Once again, WISC TV is partnering with Madison consulting firm SVA to promote women in business, recognize the unique challenges of women in business, and connect local business leaders with women interested in growing their careers. The connection is featured again this year at the Women in Business Initiative on June 19th at the Overture Center for the Arts. And back to tell us about the event and the work are SVA principals Jenny Harritz and Kirsten Houghton. And both of you, welcome back.
Thank you.
So, Kirsten, start by just talking a little bit about SVA, what SVA does, and why this is such a good fit for this topic.
Right. Well, first I want to thank you and WISC TV, co-sponsoring the event again this year. We had a fabulous turnout last year and are hoping for even more women to join us this year.
You bet.
So SVA is a professional services firm. We encompass a public accounting firm, wealth management, and consulting. And so with that, we're very attuned to women in business and want to support them and allow people to share their stories. And then also provide those stories for other women as they're developing their careers to be inspired and know that it's a tough road, but it's a road that can be done and you can be successful. You just have to take risks. So we want to support that.
This is a priority for the whole company.
Definitely.
To support women, not just at SVA, but the idea of women in business in general.
Right, exactly. As we talked about last year, there's a lot of philanthropic awards in town that do honor women, but we really wanted to focus on women in business and their achievements. And then with this breakfast, we're able to honor four women, and highlight their achievements for the audience.
So, how was last year's event, Jenny? We did this for the first time. How did it go? What did you learn?
It was fabulous. We had 3 wonderful panelists. We had 3 more panelists this year as well. Great turnout last year, looking for well over 100 people last year, looking for 150 this year.
And did you get the kind of engagement that you were looking for?
Absolutely. So as Kirsten mentioned, Madison has a lot of awards that are presented. This is really about bringing people together and networking and sharing and learning from each other. So when you survey people, not just locally but nationally, what they're looking for a lot of times is a support network, a networking help throughout the community, and we're really bringing people together to support each other and make connections.
Yeah. Is the format similar this year to last year?
It will be. Well, we have a different location. We're at Overture Center. It's on June 19th from 7:30 to 9:30. So we'll have our normal networking, there'll be a breakfast, and then our panel will go from 8:15 to 9, and then with a half hour for questions. So lots of times for the audience to ask questions and be part of the conversation. And I just wanted to comment, I was on the panel last year, and I still have women that come up to me and remember me from that event as recently as within the last month, and telling how much they enjoyed it and hoping we were going to do it again.
It's such a nice opportunity to make those connections.
It is. It's fun.
Were there good questions? Did they kind of surprise you?
They did. They did. Actually, Susan Simon was our MC last year, and she did a great job of ferreting out questions from the audience and getting them engaged. So, yeah, great questions about not really nuts and bolts, but just that overarching, how do you take that risk? How do you make yourself go forward?
Yeah. And are you able to incorporate kind of the SVA way in that? Is that sort of part of the conversation?
Absolutely. So what we try really hard to do is to help people be successful, and this is just an extension within the Madison area across the community, and how to help people become successful and share from the learnings that they develop.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. As we're doing this, there's another conference going on in town. It's called CultureCon. And there's 300-400 people coming in from around the Midwest. You're familiar with it. So it's this idea of a workplace culture and creating a workplace culture that works for everybody there. But I think there's a recognition more and more that women's contribution to that workplace culture is really important.
Right, I would agree. When we first started talking about this event over a year ago, we started talking about, working with women in business. Well, it's not that we offer different services because you're female. Right. It's relationships, and people are different. And I think women really focus on relationships and developing trust. And we do that within our workplace, but we want to also show the community that we're part of that conversation as well, and building trust between our panelists who's attending and offering how we can help.
Yeah.
Our panelists this year really exemplify that as well. So Sue Johnson is one of our panelists, and she's the CEO and president of Fort Credit Union, Community Credit Union, and she has a really nice story about how she was just kind of a number within this big, massive company, and how she wanted to be more than that. And so she took a risk on herself and went into a much smaller environment and was able to work and grow with the credit union, ultimately to 4 branches, becoming more active in the community, you know, very Madison-like, and is a great story to share.
Yeah, that's a good example. Who are some of the other speakers?
We also have Dr. Sally McKinnon, who works with Madison radiologists, again, speaks very, very eloquently about the support network that she was able to build from the UW.
Right.
And specifically, she called out UW, the UW radiology department, and the faculty there standing out within the nation and having so many female faculty, and how that helped her start to build not just mentors and teachers, but friends through her network and growing her career.
Yep.
Our third panelist
You can keep going.
is Christy Morgan of Mirrors Partners. And Kirsten, why don't you share?
Yeah, so Christy works in affordable housing, and that's part of the practice area I work in as well. So it's affordable housing, it's multifamily and senior housing. And she took the chance to purchase part of the company she was working in and then break off and develop her own thing. And now they have 2,500 units in, I believe, 6 counties. And or is it states? I could be saying that wrong.
States, yeah.
6 states, thank you. But no, it's great. And for me, doing that part of work in my career, there's not a lot of women in affordable housing. To see someone take the investment, take the risk, and then build a company around it is great.
Yeah, that thought popped to my mind too, that a lot of these seem like sort of non-traditional areas for women, at least as we, you know, as we commonly think of it.
And then we do have one last panelist too, Laura Zock from SVA. So she'll talk about her experience working with down at our firm and how her career has developed from, you know, I think she basically started her career at SVA and now is a principal and is running the healthcare area with 2 other partners.
And so they each will give a presentation, or is it a panel?
It's a panel.
Okay, all right.
So there'll be moderated questions that each of them will address, but also taking questions from the audience.
Yeah. Well, you touched on one of the themes, but there are some other themes that I'd like to just kind of go through when we come back and talk about women in business right after this.
For the Record, sponsored by MG&E, your community energy company.
It's Empire Today's biggest sale, the 50-50-50 sale. 50% off carpet and flooring, 50% off padding and materials, and 50% off installation. That's right, half off your entire project. You can save thousands. Empire's 50-50-50 sale won't last long. Don't miss 50% off carpet and flooring, 50% off padding and materials, and 50% off installation.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
It's impressive. All-wheel drive plus MPG, the new 2018 Subaru Impreza from Don Miller. Get up to 37 EPA highway miles per gallon. Your new Impreza, the 2.0i premium model JLD11, has all-wheel drive, power equipment, Bluetooth, and much more. Lease it from only $189 a month plus tax or own it from $21,565. Don Miller Subaru, west on Odana or the brand new expanded East Side store. Complete sales and service on High Crossing Boulevard, Madison.
Kubota's L2501 HST packs powerful performance into one easy-to-operate compact tractor. Designed for all-day operator comfort and easy use of implements, the L2501 HST makes mowing, digging, hauling, and lifting quick and simple. Now get payments as low as $139 a month with 0% APR financing for 84 months. Kubota L2501 HST compact tractors, the only real choice.
Know where your next meal's coming from?
Be a News 3 Hunger Hero and give to kids and families who don't.
Watch WISC TV and News 3 June 28th, including a special phone bank from 4 to 6:30.
You'll learn about summer hunger issues and how to help Goodman Community Center meet the need with a food or financial donation.
And June 28th through 30th, drop off non-perishable food items at Goodman Community Center.
Join us and be a News 3 Hunger Hero.
News 3 and Channel 3000 put top stories and breaking news at your fingertips. Video alerts and forecasts. Download the Channel 3000 app today.
I am back with Jenny Herritz and Kirsten Houghton, who are principals at SVA, and we are partnering with SVA again to put on the Women in Business Initiative, which is coming up at the Overture Center this year, which is kind of cool. That's a really nice location to do this kind of thing. And so we talked about the featured speakers and some of the themes, and one of them is stepping out of your comfort zone. How's that going to be represented there?
You want me to go? Okay. So each woman was in a situation in her career where she decided to literally maybe change direction or just take that risk and believe in herself. And so it's going to be really talking about, you know, for some of the women, they felt like they were stuck in a box and they needed to do something totally different. Another woman built her network around her. The third, you know, saw an opportunity within her existing business and went for it. And the fourth, Laura, she saw her opportunities within SVA. So it's really just taking that risk and just believing in yourself. But also, I'm sure each woman also has a strong support system as well, which I'm sure they'll touch on. But just taking that risk and not being afraid of failure. And a lot of people are fearful that they will fail or they won't make somebody happy or whatever it is, and you just have to believe in yourself and make that leap. And I know they'll touch on that.
Yeah, support systems are interesting because they would incorporate both a personal support system, and I'm sure, you know, personal stories are great along those lines. But then sort of the professional support systems, do they exist? Are they out there for women?
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why we believe so strongly in hosting this type of an event, because this is how those support systems come together. We bring people together, we get a chance to network, to share stories, sometimes share war stories, sometimes happy stories, success stories, and how we work through different challenges within life.
As women say, I am a little uncomfortable thinking about this. Are there examples of you need to talk to this person, or here's a program, here's an online resource that can help you with that?
Yeah, I think that's the best thing about an event like this. There are women's organizations in Madison that focus on women in business, which is great, but this is another way to build a network and ask those questions. I know there's been a recent event where it's even the thing of how do I even get financing to start a new business or to expand my business. Those are questions that I think some women don't know where to turn and how to even get that conversation started. So events like this, a little bit more informal, but you're talking or you're hearing from women that have made that leap, they're successful, but are also willing to tell the story and give you information.
Right.
That's also why we target this to women in business, specifically across different industries. So we can bring people together at a table and share, and maybe we have an accountant and maybe a management consultant and maybe a radiologist that, you know, someone might have a question for me that I can't answer, but I know who can. Let me introduce you to that person.
So that might speak then to the third theme, which seems really practical, which is really knowing your industry. How does that play out?
Yeah, well, I think for all these women, they took their risk because they had that base knowledge or they had extreme amount of experience. Just that knowledge base gives you the confidence to say, hey, I can do this because I've already got this piece down. I know how to. So for Christy, for example, I worked in affordable housing. I know how this works. I know how projects are developed. I know how to get financing, that type of thing. So she knows all those steps, and now I'm going to go out and do it on my own.
Sue also talks about being a lifelong learner, and that's actually something that we have on our walls at SVA, is being a lifelong learner, not just knowing your industry, but knowing where your industry is going and what things are changing. I think ultimately helps people be successful as well.
I think for so many people, the passion could be there, you know, sort of the spark could be there because it's something in some aspect of their life that they really care about. But to make that your life's work and to decide that that's going to be a career path for you might require some considerable conversation and discussion.
Definitely. I mean, you definitely have to pull on your resources that you have and then also seek out mentors, whether they're male or female, that can help you to process and figure out what to do. I like that Sally created her own network within UW hospital system to help her have those people to talk to. And so it's not always that there is a networking group or an event like this. You do have to work to create your own network of various people that can help you.
This feels a little bit more like a career advancement, maybe even career change conversation rather than a startup sort of start your own business. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. And there's some wonderful programs out in the Madison area that support entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial women as well. And we support those and have participated as well. But this is really targeting women across business. So whether they're business owners, whether they're executives in the company, whether they're growing their careers in business, but again, building up that network and industry knowledge and stepping outside their comfort zone and advancing their current position.
And I think, too, for a lot of the attendees, just to see that it can be done. There's people that have been successful and how they got there. It's just sometimes you just need to see that mirror back at you so you can see, like, oh, yeah, that can happen.
Yeah.
You just need to see it.
So who's coming to this from your experience last year? Right. And who should come?
So last year, wide variety of women at all different points in their careers. Some people might say, oh, why are you here? You're already very successful. We could always keep learning, lifelong learning. But it was a variety of women, a variety of ages. We had women that were in their 20s all the way to women in their, probably towards the end of their careers, in their 50s. And it was a great crowd. And what's nice about that, too, is everybody sitting at tables and chatting and sharing their stories just even before the actual program begins. Yeah.
We focus heavily on women in business, so I think all women in business are invited. We like to try to peer network as well. Looking at, again, women business owners, women in a management position, women that are growing their career within the business sector, those are all great candidates.
It does strike me as a place where entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, might want to come and just hear what the conversation is, what other women are thinking about in terms of their own career advancement.
Definitely, because really, no matter if you're a true entrepreneur where you're the owner of the business and it's you and maybe another person, or if you're working within a company, we're all entrepreneurial in our companies. You have to be.
Entrepreneurial.
Entrepreneurial, there you go.
Right. What kind of diversity mix did you get last year? And have you encouraged in terms of generation and culture and that kind of stuff?
We got a wide range in diversity, both experience, race diversity, age, industry type. Really a wide range. It was surprising in the sense of, it was just great to see that mix of people. It wasn't just people from one sector or people, doing one certain thing. It was great.
And great questions from the audience as well. Last year we had Anna Hooker as one of our panelists. Right. And she spoke in a very real, authentic way about what it meant for her being a non-white person coming into a very white area and some of the challenges that she had. And I think all of the women from last year as well as this year, just very inspiring women.
I would have liked to have heard that conversation. I mean, it's part of how the whole region is changing today, and those are conversations that I think could impact a lot of people. That's why we need the women leaders to reach out to others.
Exactly.
We're going to come back and talk about networking and follow-up and that kind of thing when we come back right after this.
It's time to celebrate the guy who taught you everything. Stock up on Father's Day gifts at Men's Warehouse. Designer suits are $2.99. Plus it's buy one, get one free on select items. Dad's gonna like the way he looks.
It's the season for storms and possibly downed power lines. And while it may look harmless, a fallen line could be live and dangerous. Stay away from lines on the ground and areas covered with storm debris where fallen lines could be hidden. Always assume that a downed line and the objects around it are energized. Don't touch them. And most importantly, if you encounter a downed power line, call MG&E right away. Stay safe. Stay away from downed lines.
If your credit card debt is out of control, if you're in over your head in monthly payments, there's a secret the credit card companies don't want you to know. If you have more than $5,000 in credit card debt, you have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. That's bad news for the credit card companies, but it's great news for you. We're Credit Associates, and we're offering you free information on how to virtually eliminate your credit card debt with a monthly payment you can afford. To see how much you could save, call now. 1-800-908-0532.
Don't declare bankruptcy. Don't consolidate. Give us 10 minutes and we could save you thousands. After all, we depend on your success and offer a guarantee so there's no risk. Credit Associates. Live better, debt-free. Find out how easy it is by calling now. For the secret the credit card companies don't want you to know, call Credit Associates now and see how much money you could save for free. Call 1-800-908-0532.
It's time to celebrate the guy who taught you everything. Stock up on Father's Day gifts at Men's Warehouse. Designer suits are $2.99. Plus, it's buy one, get one free on select items. Dad's gonna like the way he looks.
What's the date of the initiative? June 19th at the Overture Center, the Women in Business Initiative, second annual, and WISC TV is partnering again with SVA, and principals Jenny Harritz and Kirsten Houghton are with me again to talk about this year's event. So the takeaways from this, it sounds like a pretty rich conversation that goes on there. But I'm assuming a lot of women are going to want to anticipate some relationships and sources of information that they can take back with them.
Right.
How do you make that happen?
So I think a big part of that is, you know, how we wrap up the conversation and what we're talking about, but letting them know, you know, one piece that we haven't mentioned is just how we work with women in business as well, and we're very relationship driven, and that's within all of the companies under the SVA umbrella. So we want to have that message there too, that we are there to work with women, but also from the panelists that are there, just making sure that as we wrap things up, saying, what didn't we cover? What do you still want to know? Make sure you go forth and, you know, these people you met today, start making relationships. I think we need to have that as part of the message as we close out the event.
A lot of these women are talking to each other, right? They understand each other. They're kind of at a level in their careers where...
Where what they can really expect to get out of attending the breakfast is a chance to not just only network with the panelists and learn from the panelists, because they will have the opportunity to ask questions for themselves, but then also get to know the people around them at the table. And we do have time for networking and questions so that they can walk away with hopefully meeting a few people that are new that can help them in mutually beneficial relationships.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you too, from my experience last year, since I did sit on the panel, I had a number of women come up to me as I was still up on the stage and hand me their business cards and say, hey, I'd like to get together and talk to you some more about what you do and you know, what your experience has been with your career. So that was happening. It happened to me, and I had several people do that. So my guess is it's happening all across the room.
Yeah.
Last year, Susan Simon did a great job emceeing. This year, Danica Lewis.
Yep.
I'm sure she'll do just as well, kind of teasing out some of those really helpful questions, and then we can turn to each other at the table and learn from each other, not just the panelists as well.
I'm curious, just from a media perspective, so much of the conversation around women in business employment has to do with various social and cultural issues that we're all familiar with. Right. We're in the hashtag #MeToo era. The fact that this is the second year, this is really at a very important time in this whole conversation. Did that element come into it at all last year?
I would say probably not last year as much. This year, I think it's definitely top of mind, and it'll be interesting in the conversation to see if that is one of the things that's brought up by some of the attendees. Like, what was your experience? You know, did you experience harassment, or what were your challenges? I highly see that as a question that will come
Well, you talk about stepping out of your comfort zone. You know, I'm sure that there is some question about what am I walking into here?
Yeah, definitely, because, you don't know, and you don't know what the reaction is going to be to those kinds of moves.
What was really amazing about Me Too was that the courage that women came out and sharing their stories, and then the support network from everybody that came out to support those women. So I think we're right in line with that message and supporting each other. And I hope that that's what we'll hear from our panelists and from attendees this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is an example of the glass ceiling coming down, and yet there are still plenty of statistics that suggest the glass ceiling still very much exists.
Yes, definitely. I was going to say too, just in light of the Me Too movement, it just has opened up conversation where people just feel more comfortable of actually sharing a story that they have probably never told. And that can be not in that just specific area, but just in general, just their life experience. And I think people are much more open and knowing that if they tell a story, it's going to be, I don't know if support is the right word, but there's not that threat or that fear that there could have been in the past.
Yep.
One thing that'll be interesting to measure from last year to this year is if some of those conversations have changed. So from my perspective, I think that things are progressing forward. Even here within SVA, over 50% of our staff and our employees are women. In several of the last partners, in fact, more than half of the last partner principals that have been named have been women. So I think that we're seeing those changes internally here or very, very locally, and I'd like to hear from our panelists and audience members as well.
How helpful must it be to have someone say, yeah, I faced this, and here's how I dealt with it successfully. You know, this worked for me, and I was able to get beyond that.
And that's something that somebody can definitely take away because that, as we know, is frequent occurrence, and to have somebody else say, this is what I did and this is how it worked is very helpful.
There's an exchange of emails and things.
Right.
And people,
You mentioned social media as well. We are going to be live streaming the event as well on our SVA Facebook page as well.
Oh, great, great. Registrations are open?
Yes.
And available?
Yes, and available. We have about 90 registered. You know, as Jenny said, we're hoping for 150 or more. Overture Center has a lot of room.
Yeah.
So we would love to have as many women focused on business and in their careers and at that next level where they're having success, but they want to hear and learn more from other people.
Go to the SVA website to do it.
Yeah, so if you go to www.sva.com/women, that's where you register.
Right. I'm glad we're doing this again.
Yeah,
this is a really nice partnership.
Yeah,
Thanks for doing this. We're going to come back and
much.
wrap up For the Record right after this.
There's something important growing in Wisconsin, our future. When we all enjoy tourism in Wisconsin, we grow opportunity. Tourism has grown more than 40% in the last 7 years. Last year alone, it had more than a $20 billion impact on the state's economy, supporting over 195,000 jobs. Tourism generated $1.5 billion in state and local tax revenue that in turn supports education, infrastructure, and social programs. Tourism in Wisconsin. Keep it growing.
Congratulations to Nicholas Schmidt, a credit recovery teacher at Memorial High School in Madison.
I work with kids who are essentially throwaways, and there's no way for them to graduate. There's no way for them to get their credit, and then they come in here and they work and they grind it out and they get it done.
If you know a teacher who deserves to be recognized as a top-notch teacher, send us a letter, an email, or nominate a teacher at channel3000.com.
Sponsored by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries and by Concordia University.
The future is coming fast, so Spectrum's getting faster. Hey, there's going to be billions of connected devices in the next few years. Somebody's got to power this stuff. That's why Spectrum is accelerating internet speeds across their fiber-powered network to keep everything, and that means everything, connected. Are you ready for what's next? Spectrum. Think forward.
We've been drawing from our family well for 5 generations. Without it, this farm doesn't run. Have you seen a chicken drink bottled water? How about a cow? Watering a crop? I'm Ann Groves Lloyd. Whether you're working or playing in the Wisconsin outdoors, you rely on clean water. I'll protect our waterways and our farms from corporate polluters, because without clean water, Wisconsin doesn't run.
My thanks to Jenny and Kirsten and to you for joining us. We'll see you next week on For the Record.